To understand how the basic human rights of all people in Cuba are being violated today, one must look into Cuba's dark past. In this interview from a news segment, a Cuban political dissident who was jailed at the beginning of the Castro regime tells his story of being placed in one of Cuba's first concentration camps for political prisoners, on the island Isla de Pinos.
De Pinos fue el penal escogido por el régimen castrista para confinar desde el propio año 1959 a los prisioneros políticos cubanos. Más de 5.000 hombres fueron encarcelados en las 4 circulares y los edificios que conformaban el penal.
Tal vez 2 meses después de la invasión de Bahía de Cochino fue que se dinamitó la isla, se pusieron las 24.000 libras de trinito tolueno en las 4 circulares, las cuales tenían en aquel momento, más los pabellones y otras áreas, alrededor de 5 o 6.000 prisioneros políticos. Con esto se perseguía pues el de que si había algún otro intento como el de Bahía de Cochinos, eliminar en forma colectiva a una oposición es, si no un genocidio, el intento de aplastar en una forma brutal desde el punto de vista psicológico a un grupo de hombres que solamente estaban allí por defender el derecho de pensar, de opinar y de creer. El director de presidio en ese entonces, Tarrao de apellido, visitó todas las circulares. En la circular 4, parado en la planta baja, pues gritó como si fuera dueño de todo aquello, que el hijo de puta que creyera que iba a salir con vida estaba totalmente equivocado. Después de hacer varias consultas con gente entendida en materia de explosivos, llegaron a la conclusión de que si las 24.000 libras de trinito tolueno que estaban en los 4 edificios detonaban, más el material bélico que por simpatía lo haría, la isla se convertiría en un cráter y la onda expansiva afectaría a La Habana. Esto pues produjo un sinnúmero de desajustes psíquicos, intentos de suicidio, el dormir, el comer, y aún hoy en día queda secuela en nuestras mentes, en nuestros recuerdos no se borra el haber estado durmiendo tanto tiempo sobre un colchón de explosivos en las manos de un maniático como lo es el dictador de Cuba, Fidel Castro.
The man that was just heard from experienced many hardships working almost as a slave for the Cuban government for many years. Even today, political enemies of the Castro regime are jailed for speaking their mind and wanting what is best for their people, just as Christian realists would. In the next piece of footage, a man is seen speaking against the Castro regime and is denied the right to speak by his neighbors in a coordinated act by the government called an act of repudiation, where a government supporter leads the neighbors of an individual to protest and have that individual arrested.
¡Viva! ¡Viva Raúl! ¡Viva! ¡Viva la revolución! ¡Viva! ¡Viva estaban los 5 héroes! ¡Y que viva!
Que no los veo porque aquí no
los mercenarios.
¡Abajo! Aquí hay hombres de vergüenza que están aquí presentes. En los tonos para lo que sea, Fidel, para lo que sea. Y para reconstruir las cosas sea, Fidel, para lo que sea. Para lo que sea, Fidel, para lo que sea. ¿Entiendes?
Ya se aburrieron.
¡Viva!
¡Viva! Ya se aburrieron.
Ya la seguridad lo quiero que se fuera, chicos. No tienen iniciativa.
Ya le dieron la orden a los perros.
La calle de no tiene orden, está pidiendo a
el sudor se siente herido, y se ha decidido.
Vamos a ver si
quítate la goma.
Oye, tranquila. Ven, te van a matar a la ellos vienen como los perseguidores. Me van a montar en la escalera. ¡Libertad para los presos políticos! ¡Libertad! ¡Libertad!
In that clip, the man who is arrested is speaking to his neighbors, who are shouting pro-Castro and pro-communist chants. The women you hear in the background are the man's family, shouting rights for political prisoners and freedom for Cuba and down with the Castros. The next clip is very similar, but gives insight to how people who are arrested for using their basic human right of free speech are classified in Cuba.
Soy Roberto Rodríguez Ávila de la Confederación de Trabajadores Independientes de Cuba. El día 20 de este mes me encontré en la explanada de la Plaza de la Revolución con un cartel con la consigna que decía abajo la represión en Cuba. No podían aplicarme como preso político porque preso político no había en Cuba.
Not only is the right of free speech banned in Cuba, but also the right of public assembly. An official Cuban law states that anyone gathering in a public group larger than 2 persons can be arrested for plotting against the government. This law would in turn ban gathering for religious ceremonies such as Mass in the Catholic Church. 60% of the people in Cuba are Catholic, which causes a problem for the government. In the next clip, you will see the leader of the Ladies in White, an organization that protests the arrest of political prisoners in Cuba, describe the events of what happened when their organization attempted to congregate for Mass.
Santuario, 35 mujeres. En Orbindo tuvieron 4, pero 3, pero 4 pudieron llegar a misa, a participar. También 14 en Matanza.
The Cuban people are also subjugated to harsh living conditions. Many are forced to live in small, cramped apartments with little light or ventilation. The right to own property has also been taken from the Cuban people, as can be clearly seen in the next clip.
Vivo en una condición de una vivienda de un cuarto de 4x3 por poder del gobierno. Yo soy defensor de derechos humanos, CUACIC, Cuba Independiente y Democrática. Tengo 2 hijas que quiero dar lo mejor que le pueda dar el bienestar. Y con mi vida, si tengo que dar mi vida por ellas, a las doy. Por favor, el que tenga conciencia y vea esto, por favor.
The Cuban government has total control of all forms of media, especially radio, TV, the internet, and newspapers. Any other form of press is banned and can have a reporter or journalist sentenced to jail for days or weeks.
Human rights activists or independent journalists are detained for short periods of time, ranging from a few hours to several days in police stations. They are frequently subjected to interrogations, intimidation, threats, and occasionally beatings. Reports of incommunicado detentions are becoming more frequent. Often authorities fail to tell relatives the reason or place of detention of their loved ones.
Cuban laborers are forced to work 14 hours a day and 7 days a week. They are also underpaid, and while they are working, are fed communist propaganda from the government-regulated press. Cuban exports medical doctors to other countries, mostly to Venezuela, where there are 30,000 Cuban doctors that have been sent by the government. These doctors are underpaid and are separated from their families, so they do not defect. These doctors are sold for $4,000 to any country and are paid $1,000 a month for their time spent in that country. This next clip is a news report about Cuban doctors and how they're being treated and if their treatment is effective in the world.
Cuba has been getting a lot of good press for sending doctors around the world to help fight, among other things, Ebola. America's columnist Mary Anastasia O'Grady joins me to tell the real story. Mary, the New York Times says that Cuba is the world's, quote, boldest contributor to the fight against Ebola. What do you say?
Well, I'll say that, first of all, the New York Times is not alone in saying that. Time Magazine, CNN, lots of mainstream media outlets have been praising Cuba for sending Cuban doctors to Africa. And this is not new. It's something that Cuba has been doing for a number of years now, where they send doctors to places where there's either a lot of poverty and therefore poor health care, or where there's an outbreak of disease. They sent them to Haiti after the earthquake. But what I was writing about in my column is the fact that no one talks about, which is, none of these doctors are really going voluntarily. And in fact, they're neither going voluntarily nor being paid what they deserve.
Wait, so where does the money go then when these foreign countries pay the Cuban healthcare system? If the doctors aren't getting it, who gets it?
Well, the Cuban regime is keeping most of the money. And I'll give you an example. In Brazil, they pay something like $4,000 per doctor per month. And the Cuban workers, right now, we think, because none of it's transparent, get about 25% of that. And that's up from a year ago, because there were a couple of Cuban doctors who escaped. By the way, when the doctors arrive in these places, their passports are confiscated, and they're basically not allowed to speak out about their conditions. These two doctors escaped, and they made public their concerns about what they were being paid, and Brazil pressured Cuba to raise the amount that they were being paid. So the 75% that Cuba is keeping is up from what they were trying to do, was basically pay them much less.
So while Cuba is sending these doctors to Ebola-ravaged West Africa, what's the kind of health care that Cubans are getting at home?
Well, let me say that I don't think the people who are being treated by Cuban doctors around the world are getting great health care from them. I think that we don't really know about the quality of the Cuban doctor, and that is something that I think deserves much more scrutiny than it's getting. But on the subject of health care, I mean, there's now a doctor shortage in Cuba, and it's because they're sending these doctors overseas. What they're trying to do is polish up their image as a great, selfless contributor to the global effort, and at the same time get rich. And it's as I said in my column, it's the perfect crime for them.
But socialized medicine, does it work in Cuba?
Oh, probably not. If you go to Cuba as a foreigner to be treated there, you might get some very good health care, but if you're a Cuban, not so much.
Not so much. America's columnist Mary Anastasia O'Grady, thanks so much for joining us.
This last clip is from a documentary and shows a Cuban rights activist speaking about how badly human rights are violated in Cuba. He also mentions the political state of Cuba and how it influences the violation of these human rights.
Seguimos sufriendo la peor situación de derechos humanos en toda América Latina. El pueblo de Cuba está maniatado, está atado de pies y manos y sometido a un régimen que tiene una enorme capacidad de intimidación sobre cada persona. Capacidad de intimidación que ejercen a través de un enorme aparato de represión. En el mes de marzo fueron más de 1000 los detenidos temporalmente por varias horas, varios días. Algunos quedaron en prisión. Creo que estamos en presencia de un régimen muy parecido al fascismo italiano, tipo de Estado corporativo. No hay ideología detrás. Dicen ser comunistas, pero eso es una coartada. La organización llamada sindical es como un ministerio del régimen. O sea, no hay derechos sindicales, no hay ningún tipo de protección. O sea, los trabajadores más explotados de toda Iberoamérica son los cubanos.